3 times, archaeologists pried open what was supposed to stay sealed. A tomb hidden deep beneath Egyptian sands, ancient scrolls locked away in darkness, and a maze of tunnels that defy modern mapping. Each discovery was real, sealed or hidden since antiquity, and they were disturbed only for experts to examine, then sealed again. Access is still controlled, and what lies beyond those closed doors is rarely published. The final discovery remains underground, with entire sections still forbidden. The first discovery begins beneath the sands of Saqqara, where Egypt's ancient capital Memphis laid its dead to rest for more than 3,000 years. Here, the necropolis grew into a labyrinth of tombs, each one intended to remain sealed for eternity. Generations of priests and craftsmen carved deep, vertical shafts, some plunging as far as 30 meters into the bedrock. When a burial was complete, heavy limestone blocks and layers of rubble were set in place, then sealed with clay impressions. These barriers were not just for ceremony. They were a practical defense against looters and a final act of closure for the families and officials who watched over the dead. Modern archaeologists, working under the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, have uncovered hundreds of these shafts since the early 2000s. Each new opening is a delicate operation. The stonework is ancient, often unstable, and the air inside is heavy with the dust of centuries. In recent years, teams led by Mostafa Waziri have encountered sealed doors, wooden coffins painted with prayers, and corridors lined with artifacts left untouched for millennia. Some shafts reveal dozens of sarcophagi stacked in tiers, along with amulets, papyrus fragments, and the faint outlines of funerary texts. Yet for every chamber briefly explored, many more remain closed. The risk of collapse, rapid decay of pigments and organic material on exposure to air, and strict conservation policies mean that most shafts are documented, then sealed again, sometimes with modern barriers to prevent further disturbance. Out of more than 250 shafts identified, less than a fifth have been fully studied or published. What lies behind the remaining sealed doors is known only to a handful of experts, and the records are incomplete. The necropolis stands as a reminder that some discoveries are opened only once and then deliberately closed to the outside world. Inside Saqqara's tomb shafts, the excitement of discovery quickly gave way to hard limits. Conservation teams entered chambers where painted coffins and fragile artifacts had rested undisturbed for centuries. Within hours, the first signs of trouble appeared. Ancient pigments began to fade and flake as the dry, stagnant air shifted. Wooden panels, sealed for thousands of years, cracked and warped. The limestone walls themselves, already weakened by time, showed new fissures under the weight of modern footsteps and equipment. Safety surveys documented the hazards in detail. Engineers warned that some corridors risked collapse if left open to repeated entry. Reports from the Ministry of Antiquities highlighted rapid decay. Exposure to light and air sped the breakdown of organic materials, making every minute inside a race against irreversible loss. By 2021, less than 20% of the shafts had been fully studied or published. The rest were either too unstable or too sensitive to risk further disturbance. Internal logs recorded brief glimpses of amulets, fragments of papyrus, and the outlines of funerary scenes, before teams withdrew and resealed the entrances, sometimes adding concrete barriers to keep out even the most determined trespassers. Mostafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, summed up the dilemma in a public statement. Brief exploration revealed wonders, but safety demands we seal them again. The policy is now clear. Preservation comes first, even when it means turning away from discoveries that could rewrite the history of ancient Egypt. The result is a necropolis where the majority of secrets remain locked underground, their details known only to a handful of experts, and perhaps never to be revealed. The second discovery began in the barren cliffs above the Dead Sea, where a chance encounter with a hidden cave would reshape the history of biblical scholarship. In 1947, Bedouin shepherds searching for a lost goat stumbled across a narrow opening in the limestone. Inside, they found ancient jars, linen wrappings, and the first of what would become known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Over the next decade, 11 caves in the Qumran region yielded nearly 900 manuscripts and thousands of fragmentary texts, some biblical, others previously unknown. Cave 4 alone produced around 15,000 fragments, many so fragile they crumbled at the slightest touch. From the start, access to these discoveries was tightly controlled. The earliest scrolls changed hands in secret, moving from Bedouin traders to antiquities dealers, and then to scholars who recognized their importance. By 1951, the French Dominican archaeologist Roland Devaux led official excavations, working with a small, hand-picked team. All materials were transferred to the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem, where a closed circle of editors assumed responsibility for sorting, translating, and publishing the finds. The scale of the discovery quickly overwhelmed the resources available. With thousands of fragments to catalog, the editorial team focused on a select group of manuscripts for early publication. The rest remained in storage, accessible only to a few specialists. For decades, the majority of Cave 4's contents were known only through internal reports and unpublished notes. The decision to limit access, justified as a matter of conservation and scholarly rigor, shaped the fate of the Qumran scrolls for a generation. The world knew the scrolls existed, but what they revealed and what remained hidden was controlled by a handful of experts. After 1967, control of the Qumran scrolls shifted to the Israel Antiquities Authority. The transfer brought new oversight, but the pattern of restricted access continued. For decades, a small editorial team determined which fragments would be published and which would remain in storage. The pace of progress was slow, with thousands of pieces from Cave 4 waiting years for proper cataloging. By the late 1980s, only a fraction of the collection had appeared in print, and most scholars could only guess at what remained unpublished. Mounting criticism from the academic world and the public eventually forced change. In 1990, Emmanuel Tove was appointed as chief editor, promising a new era of transparency. Under his leadership, the editorial monopoly was broken, and more fragments entered the public record. Tove later explained that delayed access stemmed from editorial bottlenecks, not secrecy, and that debates endure on context. The launch of the Leon Levy Dead Sea Scrolls Digital Library in 2011 marked another step toward openness. High-resolution images of nearly every scroll fragment became available online, allowing researchers worldwide to study them without handling the originals. Even so, some limits remain. The most fragile pieces, conservation imaging, and technical reports are still reserved for specialists. Full access to the original caves is rare, and certain debates, like the true origins of the library or the identity of its authors, continue without final answers. The result is a system where much is visible, but some knowledge stays behind closed doors. In the late 18th century, Paris faced a crisis beneath its own streets. Cemeteries had filled to overflowing, and the city struggled with the threat of disease from decaying remains packed into shallow ground. In 1785, authorities ordered a solution that would transform the city's forgotten quarries into a vast ossuary. Workers began the careful transfer of bones, night after night, moving the dead from churchyards like the Cimetière des Innocents into the cool, empty tunnels that stretched for kilometers under the left bank. Over the next decades, the remains of more than 6 million Parisians were stacked, arranged, and walled behind limestone blocks. The result was a labyrinth spanning nearly 300 kilometers, much of it unmapped and unstable. Municipal records from the Inspection Générale des Carrières describe a network so extensive that even today, no complete plan exists. What began as an urgent public health measure left behind a silent city under the city, one that most Parisians would never see, and that officials would soon begin to close off for reasons of safety and control. Official access to the Paris catacombs is now limited to a single, reinforced tourist route. Beyond the gates, the Inspection Générale des Carrières enforces a strict ban on entry. The reasons are not just historical, but immediate and measurable. In closed sections, radon gas levels regularly exceed 1,000 becquerels per cubic meter, more than 5 times the French safety limit for homes. Oxygen drops below 18% in narrow, unventilated corridors, and carbon dioxide can rise to dangerous levels within minutes. Structural surveys have identified entire galleries at risk of collapse, with some tunnels subsiding by up to 2 centimeters each year. LiDAR mapping pilots launched in 2021 revealed vast, unmapped voids and unstable pillars. Even after 2 centuries of monitoring, a complete map does not exist. The IGC reaffirmed the prohibition in 2022, citing ongoing fatalities and rescue operations. As one spokesperson explained, unstable quarries pose mortal danger. Full access is impossible. The result is a subterranean world where most passageways remain sealed, their contents known only through scattered records and the memories of those who once ventured inside. Today, these sites remain sealed or tightly controlled, their full details known only to a select few. As restrictions persist, the gap between discovery and public knowledge grows wider. What else lies locked beneath our feet, unseen, undocumented, quietly shaping what we think we know? Thanks for watching.